Welcome into Morning Invest on this Wednesday. I'm Clayton Morris.
I'm Natalie Morris.
So today in the newsletter, I typed, I sent out the newsletter. I pressed send, and I noticed that it still said Thursday. I was like, and I dove quickly into it, and I switched it to Wednesday. So hopefully no one thinks because of my error that it's actually Thursday. It is Wednesday today. Good day, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well.
Wait, what did you pulled it back?
I managed to get in there before it was sent out.
Okay. So nobody should receive that.
Yeah, no one's week should be screwed up because they think it's Thursday.
Yeah, mine says Happy Wednesday. So.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Good. Yeah. We've got a lot to talk about today because the Congress has been busy helping the military, but not helping you. Overnight, a massive defense budget was passed. We're going to dive into this, and this is really why I think the United States is on its downward trajectory. I think it's been on its downward trajectory since the 1950s, but boy, oh boy, the amount of money that's being spent to bomb other countries is now solidified in pen and paper. So we'll talk about that on the show today.
Pretty much unanimously. That's right.
Yeah, no dissenting voices in Congress.
And then we're going to talk about the media, our favorite topic. Not us, the media. I mean, we do lots of dumb things all the time, but we try and tell you them.
Speak for yourself.
Outright.
No, I do a lot of dumb stuff.
I'm speaking as the collective we.
The collective we.
Yes. Actually, I do love it when I get typos pointed out to us in the newsletter. There was one last week where I missed a sentence and someone was like, I gotcha.
The other day after the newsletter, someone said there's no U in Colombia. I was like, yes, you're right about that.
Oh, we did Colombia instead of Colombia.
Colombia.
They're two different things.
Colombia.
So,
the Jussie Smollett defense has rested, and boy, oh boy, do we have some bombshell pieces of news out of that trial about CNN and the media. And if anyone had any doubts about the cushy relationship between politicians and the media organizations, look no further than today's show, because we are going to deep dive some of those relationships. I mean, how do you have Michelle Obama literally calling up one of the prosecuting attorneys in Chicago and basically saying, when this thing was unfolding, hey, just drop the case, just drop the charges.
Wait, really?
Yeah, and they did. And then there was overwhelming evidence that they're like, I'm sorry, Michelle Obama, we can't now just walk away from this. Like, we need to actually prosecute now. This is the kind of craziness.
Is there no one sacred?
No, it's not.
And CNN was in on it, helping him.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that on the show today. Don Lemon's text. I mean, that's what's coming out on this. So, and we'll throw this out here. We're going to talk about this a little later.
Natalie's errant hair.
Should we have a 4-day work week in the United States?
Sure.
4-day. Do you need me to cut that? What
No.
is that? It's like
I don't know why it's there. Someone in the chat the other day was like, why don't you just cut your hair? Because I never go to the hairdresser. I can't be bothered for that. I guess I could let Clayton do it, but...
Yeah. Why don't we do that right here on the show?
No thanks. I was the only one who really, like, during the pandemic, I learned to cut. You have Superman.
I have like the little Superman curl.
We both have errant hairs.
What's going on with this? Yeah, it's like an errant.
I just can't be bothered
David,
to
what is your
go
hair?
to the hairdresser. So
I mean,
I'm sorry, I can't cut my hair for you.
Does David have an errant hair?
Oops. No, I might see. Look, mine is just
chilling
Perfect.
out, exactly as it's supposed to be.
yeah.
It's hard to be perfect like that. It's a tyranny, I bet.
Well, the thing is, I don't do anything to it. I just let it do its own thing. And
I love Snarky for Life in the chat says, my favorite coffee is homemade with hot chocolate mix added. My own mocha. Delicious and full of caffeine. That sounds delicious.
You might be onto something there.
That sounds delicious. Sherry says, please do not allow Clayton to cut your hair.
No,
we should do it here on the show.
Hard pass on that one.
Belinda says, no, Natalie, do not cut your hair. It's beautiful.
Oh, thanks for saying that. When I worked for CBS, they sent me to this like broadcast coach who tried to shellac me, made me look like Morley Safer. I'm like, give me the Morley.
Morley Safer.
Because everyone like who's successful on CBS is like 500 years old.
Right.
And they would take us young girls, I was young at the time, and try and olden us up, right? And so they cut my hair into this like helmet bob, and I cried. I was like, what have you done? They were just like, no, you can't look your age. And so now I will never let another broadcast coach tell me to cut my hair or chat room. But that's how it goes. You'll
never let a chat room do it to you again?
Well, we'll see. The chat room could pressure me into it.
Come on,
But
chat room.
yeah, that's what you go through when you go on the media and they're like, this. I had this friend who was Brazilian and her hair would get like Rosanna Dana, and she'd get really nasty emails from the producers like, your hair is too big today, because it was like 90% humidity in New York City in the summer. Remember, They just abused us all the time. That's what you sign up for when you go on the air, you guys. It's not fun. Nobody abuses me here about my hair anyway.
Angel Baby Card says, what's with all these stripes, Natalie? Yeah, because she always either has the bee shirt on. She had the bee outfit, which was yellow and black stripes. And now we have got sparkle stripes. We got sparkle stripes today.
You don't like it?
I like it. He's asking. Angel Baby Card says, what's with all the stripes? You like stripes?
I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm just getting to the bottom of it. You know, we're trying to answer the questions that Americans have for you.
I don't have a lot of like patterned stuff. I'm not very creative when it comes to fashion, so I just I have one of those boxed services. It's called Lucado. It's kind of like not Birchbox. What's the one? Not Rent the Runway. It's one of those where they pick it out, and I'm like, yeah, that's nice. And you just get one per quarter.
So, hello everybody in the chat. Let us know if you are new here. Oh, people are saying, Clayton, that errant hair would drive me nuts. Yeah, I gotta fix it.
Can you feel it?
Where's your glasses? Oh, no, wait, you can't wear glasses. You're Superman with that.
Right. People would instantly know I'm Superman if I were.
That's true.
Yeah, I've got the Christmas beard.
Stitch Fix. That's it.
Stitch Fix.
Gene.
Yes.
I had Stitch Fix for a while, and then I feel like they didn't get it right for me.
They didn't fix you.
They did not.
They didn't fix
They
your
also were
stitches.
giving me the Morley. I am Morley safer clothes, Morley safer hair. Can I just look like a lady?
Morally safer. He always had the huge bags under his eyes.
Yes. Yeah. It was actually, who was it? Oh, not Andy Rooney. Andy Rooney was always on, for elections and stuff like that. But they would, Bob
Simon?
Saget?
Bob Simon.
Bob
No.
Saget?
And it was like, no, not Bob Simon.
What are you asking? Maybe I could help you.
It was like all the cameras at CBS are made for the older people. So then the younger people get on and they put really like harsh makeup around, and we would look so crazy. And we just figured that it's because most of their anchors are much, much older. That's why the lights made them look amazing. And then those of us who were in our 30s and reporting, were like, we look terrible on this network. Not Bob Dole, not Bob Newhart.
Bob Simon was
It wasn't Bob Simon. Who am I thinking of?
I don't know.
He hosted CBS this Sunday.
Where did Grover go? He was just here. Did you scare him off? Oh, that's where he went. Is anyone home?
No.
Did they do the thing?
I don't know.
Can you go and talk to them real quick?
Nobody's here.
Go. I know, that's what I'm saying. So go and... Yeah. Okay. We're going to start the show in a minute. Let me know in the chat, guys, if you are new here. Just say, yes, I'm new. And all you have to be, do we have it set so you're just a subscriber, right?
No, it's members only now.
Oh, we moved it to members only. Okay. Yeah. Well, you can become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join. You can support independent journalism, support what we do here, which is not bought and sold by the billionaire media corporations. So if you'd like to support our show, you can do that by going to morninginvest.com/join, morninginvest.com/join. And just for the price of a cup of coffee once a month, you can support what we do here. Joanne Morgan says, I like the scruff. So I'm getting the beard. I mean, it's only been a few days. How quickly, David, can you grow a beard?
Pretty quickly now. It was really hard for me to grow at first, but now within 3-4 weeks, I got a pretty decent beard.
Maybe it's all the athletic greens.
It could be.
Actually, grow that beard pretty quickly. Yeah.
That vitamin D drop too.
Yeah, when I worked that's the thing with working in the news, man. They piled, and you had no choice about it. They put like all this makeup on you and stuff, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it.
Yeah, I had to do that once when I did an event in Vegas, and I was like, never again. Like I would, if an event, I'll ask, You want me to do this event? Do I have to wear makeup? Yep. Okay, never mind. Nope. I don't care how much you pay me. I still have makeup in my drawer over here from when I was going to wear makeup on my own show.
Really?
Yeah, because Luria, my business partner at the time, she's like, you got to cover your cheeks and stuff. And she did that once. And I was like, you know what? Why? Like, what do I care if people see that I have rosacea on my cheeks?
Right.
So.
Yeah, we lived in this polished society that we need everything to be picture perfect.
Yeah. And I'm over it.
Yes. Take a stand. Take a stand. Time to get uncomfortable. Just waiting on Natalie here. We had a Charles Osgood. I don't know if that was the one. Frederick says, try being Italian. You grow hair everywhere in a day. My niece calls me Uncle Sasquatch. Yeah, see, I'm not one of those. I have just a little bit of hair on the chest. That's it. I don't have like a back sweater. I don't have that. I don't have that. Nothing like that. I grow it on my face, and that's it. Very, very quickly.
Yeah, I'm fortunate in that area too that I don't have.
Angel Baby Cards says, when I was in my 20s, thin and athletic, my beard looked like Clayton's. Nowadays, I'm Santa with white hair.
Yeah, I'm getting close to that. I'll be probably within the next couple of years. I'll be all white. My beard almost is all white now.
It's a gale out there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Speedy delivery.
Is my hair okay
What's that,
now?
your headphone?
This is how windy it is outside.
Yeah,
For your
outside.
Amazon. For your Amazon packages, darling.
All right. Why do I hear you in just one ear? No. Okay. We all ready to start the old show?
I'm ready.
All right. Grover's ready.
No.
I think that looks awesome.
She had to go down 4 flights of steps.
Like the way our house is set up. Bob Schieffer. Thank you.
Schieffer.
Yes.
Schieffer. Yeah.
The way our house is set up is like
It's really tall.
people can't leave deliveries, and it's like the old woman who lived in a shoe. It's like straight up.
I mean, you have a spire, so at least you don't have like a spiral staircase up to that spire. You know what I mean?
The end of the studio here. No, fortunately. All right. Catch your breath. All right. Catch your breath. Okay. Here we go. It is, ready?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
You just let us know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
What's all that treadmilling if it's,
What?
sorry. Ready to start the show?
Yeah, let's start the show.
Let's start the show. All right, ready? Welcome into Morning Invest on this Wednesday, December 8th, 2021.
Broadcasting from the doghouse.
Yes, broadcasting from where I get my ass kicked from my wife. This is my wife. I am her husband. Let's start the show. And maybe by the end of the show, she'll forget what I just said. That's the goal. Welcome in. We've got a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to talk about Congress being busy, really busy, working for the military-industrial complex overnight, passing the largest military defense budget in world history, and U.S. history easily. That was last night, so we'll have an update on that.
And it's War of the Divas over on the mainstream media. It's Baby Cuomo versus Jeff Zucker. And it's a he said. Do we care? I guess we care enough to talk about it in this show. But I think what I'd like to say is it's indicative of privilege. Mm-hmm. We're going to discuss that.
Right. So we'll talk about that pending lawsuit from Chris Cuomo. And we're also going to talk about the Jussie Smollett trial because, boy, did we get some bombshell details yesterday as the defense was resting in this trial. And, this trial is not just about one guy. It really is about our entire political system. It's about the liberal media, the rush to judgment. All of this is on trial during this Jussie Smollett trial. We will talk about it. So we have all of that and more. Are you guys ready to get uncomfortable on this Wednesday? Morning Invest starts right now. We should remind you that we have a daily newsletter that goes out first thing in the morning. Just go to morninginvest.com and sign up for it. You'll be totally informed and you can drink it down while you're drinking your cup of coffee, your We had somebody in the chat this morning saying that they make a coffee with hot chocolate mixed in. That's a perfect way to sit there with your cup of hot chocolate coffee, like a mocha, and read our daily newsletter, which brings you up to speed in about 5 to 10 minutes on the stories that matter. Morninginvest.com is how you can sign up. It was just named by the Financial Times Magazine as the #1 newsletter in the world.
Good for us.
Thank you to Financial Times Magazine.
That's very good.
Yeah, appreciate that.
All right. Well, the Senate did, in fact, pass a spending bill. Is it the one we've been waiting for? No, it is not, Clayton. It is not the Build Back Better plan. What were you going to say, David?
Is it ever?
Is it ever? I was like, it should be Build Back Blah.
Okay, yeah, it's Build Back whenever we feel like it, right? This is a defense spending bill, and it, in fact, gave that green light to the increased budget that the President of the United States has been asking for. Specifically, the bill authorizes $768 billion for National Defense Program. Of that, $740 billion goes straight to the Pentagon. It's a $25 billion increase from the president's request. So already the president requested 20% more, and they just went ahead and gave themselves a little bit more than that. $25 billion. Now, this is about as unanimous as it comes in Congress. The legislation was approved 363. Excuse me. Let me just repeat the numbers so that they stick. 363 to 70, with 169 Democrats joining the 195 Republicans in a blowout vote. So pretty much nobody opposes this.
Well, why would they, right? They're all paid by the military-industrial complex, right? They are lobbied on behalf of these guys. They have the military-industrial complex just has a massive amount of lobbyists hanging around K Street in Washington. They also set up shop, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, you name it, on and on. They set up shop in over 50 states, right? So every member of Congress has to deal with one of these manufacturers being in their backyard. I can't not approve this budget because this will cost my district jobs. They all have it. I mean, this was one of the brilliant moves by the military-industrial complex that instead of just being in Seattle, Boeing, they're in every state. Northrop Grumman, they're everywhere. So that every member of Congress has an obligation to make sure that they get their money. $768 billion. I just want you to let that sink in for a second. Let me put this up on the screen to show you how this breaks down by different countries, right? The United States, this was last year's budget, by the way, so these are even old numbers, but just look how we rank compared with the rest of the world. The U.S., from last year's numbers, 731 compared to Saudi Arabia at 61 billion.
Well, and that's not even taking into consideration all that we give to the defense contractors and stuff like that. That's well over $1 trillion.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, these are just to the Pentagon numbers.
Right. And I want to point out that I said it was the Senate. It was the House that passed. It passed pretty much unanimously throughout the House. Now, someone in the chat says, wait a minute. Repeat that number again. It's $768 billion. Now, that is just for a single year. Keep in mind that the Build Back Better bill is $2 trillion, right? Or, well, now it's been
1.
sort of
7.
half to 1.75 trillion over the course, they're saying, of 5 to 10 years, right?
Right.
This is half of that in 1 year. So if presumably next year is on par or the same, we'll have basically spent a Build Back Better on the military, right? With no argument at all. Think of all the hoopla we're going through for Build Back Better, which we did before for the infrastructure bill. All of this, like, arguing over the same amount of money gets nothing if it comes in the name of defense. Right now, is it a coincidence that it comes the day after the president had this call with Russian leaders saying, oh, we want to avoid war here. We can't be ready for war, but we're willing to go to war.
Timing. It's perfect timing.
Absolutely right.
Right. We have 175,000 Russian troops amassing on the Ukrainian border. President Biden spends 2 hours yesterday with Vladimir Putin squaring off over this issue, basically telling him get these troops out of there or we are going to slap massive sanctions on you, or we could provide an even greater military presence in the region. And this is, it's all part of this propaganda. So all of the media starts talking about, the impending war, all like our needs right now to make sure that we take care of Putin. And who is going to stand up against the amount of spending that we funnel into the military-industrial complex? Who's going to do it? No one's going to do it.
Bernie Sanders?
Maybe Bernie Sanders. He's about it, right? There are a few people. I mean, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tried to pass a bill. She tried to. It got nowhere, went nowhere. I mean, it went through a little bit.
But think about it. It was only like cut, 10%?
10%.
I mean,
10% is at least something.
This is not our defense bill. This is our offense bill because we are not we do not use it for defense as much as we use it for offense.
No,
right.
Again,
this should be called the bomb back better plan.
Right. The Secretary of Defense, that job title used to be Secretary of War. At least then it was sort of apparent that that's our thing.
Well, and what's interesting? So I think that the 1950s, post World War II, when America was number one in just about every category, is where we start to. You can track the decline. You can literally track the decline in America in just about every category from the middle 1950s, from the amount of spending going to the U.S. military. Like the amount of spending going to the U.S. military, we start declining in every major category, from education to food supply to healthcare, on and on and on. We go on the decline since the 1950s. And why? Right after Dwight D. Eisenhower left, his parting message in his farewell address was, beware the military-industrial complex, that once you've let this genie out of the bottle, you cannot put it back in. And if you look at these numbers year after year after year, I mean, just a few short years ago, like 2 years ago, it was $696 billion. Do you think that this number is ever going to go below this?
What are those other numbers?
These are all other countries.
These are their annual military budget in thousands of dollars?
Yeah, and in billions.
Oh, in billions. Okay,
Yeah.
I was going to say that.
So look, when we add up, all of the top countries we are blowing them out of the water combined.
And it has really nothing to do with geographic size.
No, no, not at all.
Can you blow that up a little?
Sure.
Okay. Meanwhile, I'll tell you a little bit more about what's in the bill. And specifically, the chair Republican on the House Armed Services Committee, Mike Rogers of Alabama, he said that we need this money to stave off what he calls irresponsible cuts to procurement and readiness. So this is one thing we can't go cheap on, guys. It's like toilet paper.
Yeah,
that's what he's saying.
We've got to be ready. Please
don't go cheap on your toilet paper either.
So
No.
get a bidet, by the way. I mean, but
Yes.
we're just not ready with that amount of money that we're spending. $768 billion.
I mean, he's saying no cutting corners, dude. We're not
what
going
we
to
need
do that.
Here's what we need to do. The American people, we need to take our tax money and we need to all hold it back, and then we're going to go to Congress and be like, okay, you guys, here's how we're going to give you our money. We're going to go negotiate how they're going to take our money. And we're going to say, okay, you're going to get only 30% of our money this year because you're not putting any more towards military. Anything that you're doing for subsidies for the oil industry and all that, we're going to keep. So here's our 25% of our taxes that you can, run the country with. But you're done. You're done spending our money on wars and all this other stuff. Because the thing is, we, the people, could take the military-industrial complex down through our taxes by keeping our money.
It would be a great idea.
Yes, but that's not legal to not pay your taxes. And Henry
It's not
David,
legal what they're doing either. It's unconstitutional.
you're right, but Henry David Thoreau tried that and it didn't go so well for him. So
Well, Sam
Well, but
Dorchester
that's
in our
one person.
That's right. That's
It
right.
would have to be a revolution.
yes,
Sam, yeah, if we all had like a general strike against this military spending, we rose up and said enough is enough.
I like the concept. I do. I think it's a great idea. But
I want to
go
read
ahead.
something Sam Dorchester said in the chat, because Sam said, it might have
The
flipped
government's
by.
number one job is to protect us, not give us stimulus every year.
Okay, yes. The government's number one job is to protect us, right? As citizens. That's the number one job of the U.S. government, is to protect us.
No.
Yeah,
that
it is.
is
Absolutely
no.
is. That is literally in fact, that is in the Constitution. That is our main job. Is the U.S. government is to protect its citizenry, right? To protect and make sure that they are healthy
contracts
and protected. And so protected. What does that mean, though? Are you protecting us by bombing indiscriminately other countries?
Are you protecting us by allowing the FDA put cancer-causing chemicals in our products and food?
So $768 billion a year does not protect us. Do you feel safer? Let me just ask you in the chat. Do you feel safer personally, your family's well-being, because we spend $768 billion?
Well, not just that, because we bomb indiscriminately. Do you feel safe because we're out there bombing people and creating terrorists every single day?
Right. Do you feel safer when we say we need to be in Somalia bombing countries, or we are in Taiwan training troops, or we are in Venezuela secretively? Do you feel safer as a result of that? Do you feel safer?
Do you feel safer knowing that 90% of the people we kill in drone strikes are innocent?
Right. Do you feel safer? And that's where that money's going.
I don't know. I think that there's a lot more than that to the social contract you have for the government than just like, you must protect my physical safety. There's a monetary system. There's just so much that goes into a social contract with a government. I don't think it's like,
but at its
this
core,
is our number one job. I don't see it that way.
Like, what is the mission statement then? Like, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? To protect life, to protect liberty, and allow us to pursue happiness. Like, that's really at the heart of at the heart of our.
That does not mean start fights.
Right. It does not mean start foreign wars, right? It does not. Absolutely doesn't. In fact, constitutionally, the president of the United States has to sign off on war, and we haven't done that since Korea, for crying out loud.
Right.
I don't even think we did it in Korea. I think we did it the last time was Pearl Harbor, if I'm not mistaken, maybe against Germany and the Imperial Japan. So we haven't done that in 80 years.
Somebody was asking that they said that chart didn't show China and Russia. Kevin, Michael Reed. And China spends about $245 billion, and Russia about $67 billion as of 2020.
Okay, thank you for those numbers, David. What is included in this bill that was passed is 2.7% pay increase for the troops, which is great, but keep in mind that people on Social Security got 5.9%. So it's less than that. It's not even a cost of living increase. And the government, in my opinion, should also take responsibility for the fact that its monetary policies are causing inflation that will harm anyone in the military, anyone who's living on a fixed income, military, Social Security, but it's something. So
and so you just look at this pie graph and you just see the percentage spent. So when people want to sit there and argue like Joe Manchin right now, in the same day that they're passing this massive military budget, Joe Manchin is literally arguing that there are concerns that he has inside of the stimulus package, the Build Back Better plan, because about money going to families. So, and I get it, right? We have no problem. We have no problem signing off on a $768 billion a year defense budget, and we don't even question how we're going to pay for it.
Where was the discussions and like, okay, we're gonna take a recess. We got our vacation coming up over Christmas, and we might get back to it in January if we the House is all back in to vote on it. Like nothing.
Right.
It's just instantly boom, done.
No, because the conversation from Joe Manchin and others has been, we're going to take our time, enjoy the holidays. We're going to see what's in the Build Back Better plan. We're going to have discussions about it. But with this defense budget, try getting any real details about what's actually in this thing. Try digging to find out where some of this money is actually going. You won't find it. It's
what they're telling us is that they're going to get at least 13 new Navy ships, 85 F-35 fighters, 17 F-15EX jets, 5 more than the Air Force requested. So why are we giving out free jets? Like, you only wanted 5, but I'll give you 10.
Money.
Like my son comes to me and says, "Daddy, can I have a second cookie?" No, son. Here's 7.
Yeah.
Like, here's 7 Christmas cookies. That's what we're doing. That's literally, and why? Because it's just lining
They didn't
the pockets
ask for it.
They didn't ask for it.
Right? We think we need 12. You get 17.
Like, they have no accountability whatsoever. If there was any kind of I just said the word.
Compatibility?
Accountability.
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 If there was only
I didn't say it.
like there was an accounting of what it was all spent for, and we had some kind of transparency, I don't think this would happen. But they're like, it's our money. We're giving it to them. They're going to spend it on whatever they want. So we don't even know. Like you're saying those details, but like what else are they spending it on? How many of those little singular drones are we buying now? Like we are paying for all this stuff. We are buying these jets out of our pockets.
You need to watch. There's a great movie a number of years ago featured prominently then Senator John McCain. It's called Why We Fight, and it is an absolute eye-opening dissection of the military-industrial complex. And guess what? If you watch this movie, it'll piss you off a lot because it was made maybe 10 years ago, 12 years ago now. So the amount of money that we were spending then in the military budget was probably in the 400 billion range, 500 billion. Now we're at 768 billion. But they will go to these, what do you call them, conferences. You know, like when you go to the CES conference in Las Vegas and all of the big tech companies are there showing off their new smartphones and their new televisions and all of this. Well, that's exactly what the military-industrial complex does. They have these big conventions where generals and members of the military will walk up and down the aisles and see the new gas masks being made. And they'll say, General, come on over here. You got to try on this gas mask. And they'll say, fine, I'll take 10 of those and 10 of those. That's how it works. And they don't even need them. They don't need them, want them, have to use them in war. You know, we don't need gas masks, and yet we're spending billions of dollars on gas masks. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and obviously we don't need it. Like how much equipment did we leave over there in Iraq when we left?
Yeah, like $11 billion worth, or it ended up being like $21 billion worth. I'm sorry, of materials and vehicles just sat there parked that we just basically turned over to the Taliban.
Well, we need new ones. We need 5 more.
Yeah, we'll just buy more. We'll just build more and pay contractors
Some of those Hummers
for
had
it.
flat tires. I mean,
what are you going to do about that? Someone lost the keys. They can't get a locksmith.
Yeah. Get a new one.
So, there you go. Infuriating.
Now, this bill, interestingly enough, was supposed to include a mandatory draft for women, to include women in any upcoming mandatory drafts. Now, well, set your mind at ease. There are no mandatory drafts right now. And it had bipartisan support, but it was just dropped, and no one knows why. Do you have any theories about that?
I don't. I mean, there's not a lot of appetite to talk about a draft again, right? Because this is, again, we talked 2 days ago here on the show about keeping wars at arm's length, away from most Americans, right? That the idea of a draft would hit everybody, right? Mm-hmm. That would hit members of Congress's children. That would hit the wealthy children, but no, instead we want to keep it away.
How can they draft when there's not even a war?
Well, they could. It
was an if proposal.
And what is it to declare war? They could say, you know what, Russia is invading the Ukraine. That and they attacked one of our ships in the Balkans. That's war. Right now we're at war. Russia attacked one of our ships. Stand up and fight against the Russian Red Bear. You know?
Yes.
Yeah, how dare Russia defend their lands from us?
Well, recently there was a case that the Supreme Court denied hearing. We wrote about this in the newsletter about whether or not women could be drafted. And there was a group of men who wanted to challenge this law, and the Supreme Court refused to take it up. But it did still, and the Supreme Court specifically said, Congress should write this in. The court should not rule on it. Congress said, okay, we'll take the ball. But then they just kind of like, whoop, we don't want that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying women should be drafted, but it's interesting because this was specifically the reason that the courts punted on this. And Congress said they would do something about it, and they didn't. So I don't know why.
Let me just wrap this up with a little bow here. I mean, because they passed this massive defense budget. And on a day when President Biden is head-to-head with Vladimir Putin in this 2-hour conference call, at the end of that conference call, the Russians basically said, sanctions, give me a break. We're blowing it off. We don't care what you have to say about sanctions. That came from the foreign affairs advisor to Vladimir Putin. So where do we go from here? This is where the mainstream media will say, thank God we spent so much money on our defense budget, because now it looks like we're heading to war with Russia.
Russia's misbehaving. We're going to have to beef up our tanks and stuff.
And it's about time, if you think about it. I mean, it's like this is going to be redemption for the military-industrial complex thanks to Kennedy. Like, they didn't get to do it back then, so good for them.
It's about time. Yeah, we waited the whole 1980s in this Cold War with no one
it's like-
actually.
That's a
It's
lot
a
of
pandemic.
foreplay. That's a long time of foreplay. Let's just get to it.
Right.
We've
It's a
been
lot of-
waiting.
And it's like during the pandemic, like the economy's fine. We're making really good money, so why not just spend it on taking out Russia? That's fine. It's America.
Yeah.
Rah.
Yeah. It's a lot of pillow talk. Let's get to it.
Hoorah.
All right, we've got more news to get to here on the show. We're going to talk about CNN and Chris Cuomo about to go to war, and the details that are coming out of this thing are pretty interesting. And we've got bombshell details in the Jussie Smollett trial. You won't want to miss this coming up in just a moment. But first, we want to tell you about today's show sponsor.
All right, our show sponsor today is Indeed. Now, everybody is having a hard time hiring. Why not reach out to the experts who can help you find the right person for your position without all the shifting through resumes that are nonsensical and not relevant for you? Or if you're looking for a job, you also can go to Indeed and find jobs that fit your skill set. Indeed is a hiring partner that lets you get what you really want, either a short list of candidates or a short list of companies that you should work for, that you will actually want to. Indeed is an unbelievably powerful hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. They find you the right candidates and they invite those candidates to apply for your job. So it's not like, the old days of Monster where you're throwing your resume down a black hole. This is actually actively managing people to jobs in a productive way. Indeed is where you can hire. Did you say something, David?
No, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
It sounds like it might be a cell phone.
Oh, all right. Indeed is your go-to hiring partner where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't struggle on your own to find quality candidates, and don't, for God's sake, try and do everything yourself because leaders delegate. So delegate to the right person and the right talent. Right now, you can get started with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/invest. That's a $75 credit at Indeed.com/invest. Indeed.com, one more time, /invest. The offer is valid through December 31st. Terms and conditions apply. If you need to hire, you need Indeed.
Amy Perkins in our chat room says, I found my job on Indeed. There you go.
Excellent.
There you go. Yeah, we're actually hiring right now. We're using Indeed to do it. My mom actually is hiring. She's like, I could have used that $75 job credit. She's like, we posted 3 different jobs using Indeed. So There you go. Our thanks to Indeed for supporting the show. They're a longtime sponsor and supporter of what we do here, so we thank them for their support.
When I was a reporter at CNBC, I got the opportunity to visit their offices, and it's interesting how they've taken the online job application space and made it, back then it was so impersonal, like monster.com. You just kind of threw your resume and see what happened. And they really have a great algorithm to match people and jobs to the, correctly and appropriately. So it's exciting to see what they're up to after all these years.
Yeah, good for them and their job growth internally. All right, let's talk about CNN and the all-out war that is about to unfold between Chris Cuomo, the newly fired anchor, the newly neutered anchor, and CNN's Jeff Zucker. Both sides right now are lawyering up and issuing back and forth statements. They've been sending out Brian Stelter all over the place, doing interviews. He's been on the Stephen Colbert show. He's done interviews where he's talked about internal dissent at CNN and how there are people that really thought that, that Cuomo should have been fired earlier, but then others were saying that he should be supportive. Now back and forth, these two are basically hiring and getting on top of all these different lawyers, and there are reports that a massive lawsuit to the tune of $18 million could be coming very soon from Chris Cuomo's team against CNN, basically saying that he is owed 4 years of the rest of his contract, and furthermore, that CNN knew exactly what those text messages were about, his relationship with the governor's office, and that they were complicit in this cover-up.
Okay. Interestingly, the head of CNN, Jeff Zucker, has said that, this is new to me. We didn't know Chris Cuomo had done these unconscionable things, so we fired them because we found out, right?
Right.
And when he was asked, he said that Chris Cuomo did not get a severance package, which is kind of interesting in these days of downfall of the media. If you recall the Roger Ailes scandal, the Bill O'Reilly scandal. Both of them were accused of egregious sexual misconduct, and both of them got massive severance packages to walk away. Now, if you kind of read the tea leaves about that, it would seem that taking a severance package is sort of like a settlement deal. You sign it under a certain terms that say you won't disparage the network, you won't talk about the terms of your departure, right? And so when those anchors accepted executives and anchors accepted that money, they could not then go back around and accuse Fox of having known what they did, right? This did not happen. Chris Cuomo got nothing. He was just like out, right?
Right.
And for that reason, now he can fight in public. And so it's interesting.
Because he didn't sign like a non-disclosure agreement, an anti-disparagement
agreement. If they didn't pay
agreement.
him a settlement, he has no reason to sign anything of the sort. So he can go in and say whatever he wants. Now, a lawsuit like this would be very uncomfortable for him because but in discovery, if he's going to say, the network knew what I did, they only pretended they didn't know when things got public, that's very provable.
Right.
He could then prove all of these messages and internal documents and conversations with Jeff Zucker and human resources and yada, 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 yada. And if CNN is shown that they did know it, which I think probably, my opinion is 5,000% they knew. And then they just, like, when it became public, pretended they didn't and then kicked him to the curb.
Curb.
Sorry.
Like curb your enthusiasm.
You don't kick someone to the curb.
Should I read the statements here? Should I read the statements from CNN and then the one from Chris Cuomo?
Sure, read the statements.
So the situation has become quickly acrimonious, and here is the dueling statements from CNN and Cuomo's personal spokesperson, who said that Zucker and his client were, quote, widely known to be extremely close and in regular contact, including about the details of Mr. Cuomo's support for his brother. There were no secrets about this, as other individuals besides Mr. Cuomo can attest. CNN then hit back with their own response, which said, "We are disappointed with Chris's statement. He's made a number of accusations that are patently false. This reinforces why he was terminated for violating our standards and practices, as well as his lack of candor." So, Chris, what makes this sort of lack of daylight between these two accounts here, as Vanity Fair points out, one person familiar with Zucker and Cuomo's conversations said, Chris believes he was transparent about what he was doing and what Jeff needed to know. But another person says internally that basically the most damning stuff was from these Melissa DeRosa text messages, Andrew Cuomo's top lieutenant, and that those things only came out later. So, does he know about it or not? So
we know some people who have anchor jobs or have had marquee anchor jobs at CNN, former colleagues of ours, who absolutely were chummy with Jeff Zucker and said, "Oh, I can text him whenever I want. I'm close to him," right?
Right.
And so I believe he does keep personal relationships, especially with his marquee anchors.
Yeah, he
and there was
favorite.
no one more marquee than Chris Cuomo. That's point number one. And point number two, if you're Jeff Zucker and you know the news is that your star's brother is in big trouble, you're going to ask the star, what's going on about this? What should we do? What do you know? You're going to say, this is how you need to handle this. You're going to talk about it. It's not like this is something Jeff Zucker did not advise about, did not think about. If so, he's the dumbest person ever. And he's not a dumb person. I don't think so. So the sort of like, I didn't know what route he was taking on his own very public personal crisis,
right,
even though he's my star, is total.
Yeah, it's garbage. Right. I mean, we're seeing right through it. But this just speaks to this this hypocrisy, right? So then CNN is having Andrew Cuomo, Governor Andrew Cuomo, on the show on a regular basis was absolutely a violation of their own internal policy. Like, according to their own handbook, their own internal handbook, this was a violation of their own policies. And then they allowed it to further continue to happen. Why? because it was huge ratings for them. Again, money. And they want to pretend like this wasn't it. I got to tell you, like in this week of all of these companies focusing on money over people, you see like the World Tennis, the Women's Tennis Association coming out saying, we're going to protect our people over money. Like, it's such a rare item. Like, we're like, oh my God, did they really just do that to protect Peng Shui? And you have these big companies that are time and time again making sure that they can do these interviews. They can put on Andrew Cuomo with his brother. They did these chummy segments where, I think we showed it here on the show, where because they were making fun of Governor Cuomo's big nose, that his younger brother bought a giant Q-tip, like they were going to swab him, because of the COVID test. And
that is stupid and gross.
He brought props. They were literally playing this game, but they knew it was huge ratings. So of course, and they promote it tonight. The Governor Cuomo of New York is going to be on the.
They Cuomo'd it.
They Cuomo'd it. They Cuomo'd it. They promoted the Cuomo. Is that what I said? They Cuomo'd it?
No,
Oh.
but I wanted to make a pun.
So what's next for Chris Cuomo other than this massive lawsuit that seems to be coming, and how chummy they were? Did Jeff Zucker know about this? As you said, it's easy to prove, right? Were there text messages? Clearly there were. If we already know these text messages from the State Attorney General's office, there's got to be text messages.
Okay, let me just tell you what's going to happen, because they don't want a trial that's public where these types of things become, where and then what would be public in this? They would have to produce any correspondence between these two guys, Jeff Zucker and Cuomo, any correspondence specifically about this familial relationship, any correspondence with human resources, and you would see all kinds of compromising decisions that both of them made on both sides against what is taught in journalism school. So what will happen is maybe he will file this lawsuit because it looks like a big boy move and like you're swinging a big stick. They'll settle it confidentially, and then they won't be able to talk about it anymore because there's no way they're going to show us in a trial how dirty they are. Yeah.
Discovery phase through this. The discovery phase through any kind of legal battle is always dirty. And the reason it's dirty is because the prosecutors will try to put tentacles out, or for the plaintiff's attorneys will try to put tentacles into everything. Things that are totally unrelated. But who's to say that it's unrelated? You have to wait till a judge says that this piece of discovery is related or not related, and then they'll be able to pull it back to just the relationship between him and his governor.
But even like an empathetic type text, right? Let's say, Clayton, you had a brother who was touching ladies, right? And then you were, as a journalist, and I'm your boss, even saying like, I'm so sorry this is happening. I'm so, like, any of that. You can't get involved in any of it. Certainly they did not keep this. Again, I think if it were a lower level production assistant, it might have been a different story. But because he was the star, so many rules were bent.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for Chris Cuomo? He tweeted about his Sirius XM show. He says, I left CNN. That means that I will no longer be doing my Sirius XM radio show. I'm extremely grateful for the support I have received from Sirius XM. I also want to express my sincere appreciation for my loyal listeners. I will miss our conversations a great deal, but look forward to being back in touch with you all in the future. So,
podcast.
Well, people are saying, will he start his own show like Megyn Kelly did on YouTube, which has been really successful? So he can go and tap into his own audience there,
And then there's no
Jeff Zucker to tell him not to.
There's no rules. There's no.
There'll just be a YouTube to tell you what stories you can and cannot cover. And demonetize you when you do that. Anyway, interesting. That's the update from CNN and the Chris Cuomo lawsuit. But there's more CNN to talk about this morning. Boy, CNN just keeps making the headlines. And this time, the reason that CNN is in the headlines is around the Jussie Smollett trial, which, if you've been following this, the defense on the Jussie Smollett trial side has now rested on Tuesday. And they wrapped up by basically repeatedly denying that Jussie Smollett staged anything, that it was a hoax at all, that he had any involvement in this. It was totally real. They've continued to say up until the bitter end, when no one with a brain actually believes that, telling prosecutors at the trial that there was no hoax on my part at all, and that the two brothers who testified against him, the two black Nigerian bodybuilders that he allegedly hired to punch him in the face, were just liars. They were just liars, and that he is nothing to see here, no problems at all. Well, one of the things that we learned this week as this was wrapping up was the cushy relationship between Jussie Smollett and CNN's Don Lemon. Like, once again, how many of these behind the scenes conversations from major mainstream news organizations are happening with these high profile trials? So we now learned from testimony during the trial, as they were wrapping things up, that Don Lemon was texting Jussie Smollett, and they had become friends. They were friends, and was giving him information about the police attack. Here's how it plays out. Take a listen to how this played out.
Yesterday, he testified, Smollett, that he got text messages from Don Lemon, supposedly relaying that the Chicago Police Department didn't believe Smollett's accounting of what happened. And at the time, Lemon told his viewers that the story was personal, since they were acquaintances and they had texted after the alleged 2019 incident.
So why is that a big deal?
So in context, it's like Don Lemon learned that while reporting the story and passed that information on to the defendant. To
an active investigation, letting him know that the Chicago police didn't buy this story. Hey, you might want to do something about this, basically. And what did he do that actually impeded the investigation? He basically decided to hide his phone, not give his text messages up to the police. Okay, now that I got this information from Don Lemon that the Chicago police are on to me, and CNN is telling me that they're on to me, I better come up with something here. I better do something about it.
It gave him the opportunity to either hide evidence, which seems like he did, or change his story accordingly. That is not the media's job, just so you know. That shouldn't be happening. And it's not enough, just like the Chris Cuomo story. It's not enough to just say, I disclose that this is personal to me, right?
Right.
You should recuse yourself then of that story. You shouldn't cover it then. CNN has a lot of reporters on, that can cover this. They don't need one person who's compromised. It's the same thing with Chris Cuomo. Recuse yourself of it then,
Right.
Don't go near it. This is crazy town.
And these are the types of journalists that the mainstream media, we talk about, this is the mainstream media, right? These are the guys that are in cahoots. No one's watching these shows. Their huge ratings decline. People aren't, tuning into cable news anymore. No one's buying a cable box or getting a cable subscription these days. And these wonder why trust in the American media continues to plummet. You have these cushy love fest interviews on ABC. Did you see the Robin Roberts one with Jussie Smollett? This is unbelievable. This is like Grown Fest, right? Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know how we were talking yesterday about the media not talking about Ghislaine Maxwell, and you proved that they actually were, but this case they actually are not talking about.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So to further elaborate on that, why is the mainstream media just ignoring this story? They're just quietly, they're just reporting some of the basics. The defense rests. That's it. But they're keeping quiet about the Jussie Smollett. Why? Why? Because they were so quick in the beginning to rush to his defense, to rush and believe whatever garbage he was spinning. Just for context here, let's just go back a second, shall we? He argued that at 2 a.m, this was his story, right? He felt hungry. So in downtown Chicago,
during winter vortex or whatever,
if you've ever been to Chicago, and I have, and I've been there, one of the worst cold snaps. I thought I was going to die. It was so cold one night. Got our car towed, and thought I was going to die. It was so cold. So he decides at 2 a.m. to go out onto the empty streets of downtown Chicago, which, by the way, voted 83% for Hillary Clinton. Not exactly a MAGA Trump supporting haven. Yes. Right. It's not like he went to somewhere in Mississippi, at 2 a.m, a black gay guy, right? No, he leaves his apartment at 2 a.m, says he's going to get a Subway sandwich, at 2 a.m, which, first of all, do you know what's in a Subway sandwich? You would not leave your house in frigid cold temperatures to go get a fake tuna sandwich from Subway.
To be fair, he went somewhere else first, but it was closed, and then he went to Subway because they were open.
So then and a lot of people are saying this is crazy that you went to Subway at 2 a.m. It doesn't add up. And he told Robin Roberts that I don't get why people are making fun of me for that. If that's what you do. It's open 24 hours. You go get a Subway sandwich at 2 a.m. if you're hungry.
You should go to sleep. At that point,
you should go to sleep. But then he's attacked suddenly by two guys who he says are white guys. They're wearing masks. They're yelling MAGA information. This is MAGA country, they yell. They punch him in the face. Then they dump bleach on him. And then they put a noose around his neck. And here's how he described it to Robin Roberts.
2 o'clock in the morning, two Trump supporters just happened to have a bucket of bleach and
on the off chance that they ran into him. Right. Yeah. And they knew exactly who he was because they yelled about him being the Empire Star. Right. And that they used the N-word and that he's a gay guy and that this is MAGA country. And here's how he describes that to Robin Roberts.
My issue, it feels like if I had said it was a Muslim or a Mexican or someone black, I feel like the doubters would have supported me a lot more. And that says a lot about the place that we are in our country right now. The fact that we have these fear mongers, these people that are trying to separate us, and it's just not okay. Mm-hmm. It's just not okay. And for all of the people, the next time that you see someone report something, maybe well after the fact that it happened, and you say to them, well, why you wait until now? Just remember that mine was reported right away. And look what has happened.
The phone.
Mm-hmm.
When did you, because as you said, it was an accurate account of the timeline, valuable information. When did you make that information available to the police?
We had to give the phone records, which they didn't originally ask for my phone records. They asked for my phone. They wanted me to give my phone to the tech for 3 to 4 hours. I'm sorry, but I'm not gonna do that.
Why?
Of course not. Of course not. I'm not going to do that. Because
well,
it's going to show you.
Think about what this does. I mean, you have like real life things like this happening sometimes in America, not to this level, of course, but
right.
Look what this does. It undermines all of the people that this is really. It just creates a false hate crime that kind of pushes this agenda, and that's why the media, I think, jumped on it, because they're always looking for stories that are going to push that agenda, and it's unfortunate that somebody like this takes advantage of that.
Yeah, who would have believed this, though? It turns out so many people believed it. I mean,
well, I believed it on face value. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, until it's not my job to pick apart the story. It was like, oh, that's too bad.
No, it's not your job, right? As a citizen, but you're hearing this from the media reports, and it's the media's job, the so-called journalist's job, to ask these tough questions. And instead of fawning interviews like this, immediately Kamala Harris came out. Was like, this is a modern day lynching. So she just tweets it without any context or details. Michelle Obama reaches out to the police officers, the prosecuting attorneys in this, and asks them to drop the charges. And then they did. And then evidence started piling up. And it's like, we're sorry, Mrs. Obama. We know you're not the first lady anymore. But we now have enough here to actually prosecute him. He was lying about this. He hired these guys. In fact, here's what the police said at the time. They had the check that he wrote to these guys hiring them to beat him up.
The scratches and bruising that you saw on his face was most likely self-inflicted.
The stage attack lasted 45 seconds.
We have evidence that we have the check that he used to pay them.
Today.
I mean, why are you going to leave a paper trail like that, dummy?
Right.
Is it that has you so
Why are you so angry? Why are you so angry?
The attackers?
It's the attackers, but it's also
the culture.
The attacks.
Yeah, the attacks.
It's like, at first it was a thing of like, listen, if I tell the truth, then that's it, because it's the truth. Mm-hmm. Then it became a thing of like, oh, how can you doubt that? Like, how do you not believe that? It's the truth. And then it became a thing of like, oh, it's not necessarily that you don't believe that this is the truth. You don't even want to see the truth.
Oh, okay. So that's it. We just don't want to see the truth. We just don't want to see the truth. Yeah.
But it plays into certain people's conviction bias, especially at the time while Trump was still president, that, oh my God, his supporters can be such, this basket of deplorables that Hillary Clinton called them. And so like, oh, see, Hillary Clinton was right. They are thugs. You know, people who
Trump
sort of
supporter equals white supremacist.
equals exactly right. Exactly right. And so your existing conviction bias, if you did not like President Trump, is that he is enabling these type of like racist, either overt or latent racism, right?
And Robin Roberts even asked him that. She's like, why do you think they attacked you? He's like, I've been going pretty hard at 45, meaning he'd been really laying it thick on against Donald Trump.
Oh.
Really? I mean, give me a break. Like everyone in Hollywood, but they targeted you because you're a gay black man?
And because they saw you and they're like, I read his Twitter account, I'm going to abuse him for it.
Yeah, and I just have this bucket of bleach, and I have a noose that I have here. I'm going to put this around his neck. It's unbelievable. Here's how the media portrayed it. If you didn't remember how the media jumped all over this without any facts, they literally regurgitated what he said rather than doing their own reporting. Here's how it played out in the mainstream media.
We've got some breaking news. Actor and musician Jussie Smollett from the hit show Empire was attacked and beaten early this morning in Chicago, and police say it could be a hate crime.
There are many indications of a hate crime here. They are looking for two suspects who were apparently wearing Make America Great Again hats.
We have a media that's saying it's a debate whether or not what just happened to Jussie Smollett is a hate crime. It's absurd.
Jussie Smollett had a noose on his neck just this week.
And the media has really cast so much doubt on his story, which I find so personally offensive, that a gay black man is targeted and then suddenly he becomes the victim of people's disbelief.
He said his attackers hurled racial and homophobic slurs at him. And this is America in 2019.
This is America in 2019. There you go. No, it's America in 2021, and nothing's really changed. But it's unbelievable to see this cushy relationship.
I wonder if you asked any of them now, like if they would still double down on how they felt then.
Well, Kamala Harris was asked that question, right? Because she came immediately out with a tweet that said, this is a modern day lynching. This is a modern day lynching. We should all be ashamed of ourselves. We need to. She actually wrote a letter to the Department of Justice basically saying we need to have a review of major Department of Justice bureaus and offices to make sure that we're getting accurate reporting of hate crimes across the country. So there was mobilization on this issue from Kamala Harris, right? And then she was asked about it after it came out that this whole thing was a joke, and she just couldn't answer it. Here's what she said.
Your initial tweet of him, would you like to make an amendment to your original sentiment?
Which tweet? What tweet?
About saying that it is a modern day lynching, that...
Sorry.
Yes, Jussie Smollett.
Okay, so I will say this about that case. I think that the facts are still unfolding, and I'm very... concerned about, obviously, the initial allegation that he made about what might have happened.
So that sort of turning around and looking like, she was like, can you believe what this Fox reporter is asking me?
Right, like,
you guys.
I saw that more as a where are my handlers? Can you pull me out of here? Like,
yeah. I sort of interpreted it like, okay, Fox is trying to embarrass me again.
Yeah, like can you guys believe this question?
Like,
here?
I mean, it's a legitimate question, whatever you think of Fox News, right? But a lot of times the problem with the reputation of Fox News and this caricature of them as like extreme conservative and extremely anti-Biden administration is that it sort of, people throw out anything that they do that's legitimate. That was a legitimate question. And, it gives her the out, like, Fox, they're trying to get me. Mm-hmm. I'm above it, And it's too bad. It's too bad that we can't actually listen.
Yeah, agreed. Well, that's the update on that. We'll see if any more nuggets come out of this trial. We got more to get to. We're going to talk about this 4-day work week that's moving through Congress right now in the United States, and we'll look at what's trending. But first, do you want to get 14 free meals delivered right to your front door? Of course you do, because it's so ridiculously expensive right now to go to the grocery store, and you can actually save 28% when you start to work with HelloFresh. That's right. HelloFresh delivers high-quality, delicious meals with fresh ingredients right to your front door. And look at this. David and I, before the show, were looking at this, the home-style chicken and biscuit pot pie. That, oh my God, give me that right now, please. I'm a huge pot pie fan. They got carrots, yellow onions, dried thyme, and flour, and they'll ship it right to your front door in the perfect portions. I know that does look so good.
There's no way I could create that on my own and have it look that good.
No, and you know, look, I just sent a HelloFresh box to a friend of mine whose mother is not doing so well right now, and just to take a little stress off during the holidays, and he said, "Oh my God, the food was delicious. Thank you for sending it." And anyway, the holidays can be hectic, right? And so HelloFresh helps keep things simple with recipes that cut back on meal prep, clean up so you can spend less time in the kitchen, more quality time with friends and family. They offer 50 different menu items and market items to choose from every week, including vegetarian, calorie smart. Look at that. Gourmet options. You can just pick and choose what you want. Pescatarian options, the size of your family. It doesn't matter. You can pick it and make it sure that it fits for your family. They're easy and they're ready in about 30 minutes or less, the meals are. Plus, with their quick and easy menu meals, the 20-minute recipe cards are low prep. They're easy to clean up. You can get done food on the table quickly so you can spend more time with your family. I just think like the holidays are crazy. You've got like holiday concerts at night. You're running around like crazy, you know, and the kids have an orchestra Christmas concert, and you just don't have time. Now, this is a perfect thing right now to get is HelloFresh. You can save an average of over $65 per month off the grocery store when you use HelloFresh instead. So here's what you can do to get 14 free meals right now. Go to HelloFresh.com/invest14 and use code invest14 to get up to 14 free meals. And you also get 3 free gifts they're giving away as well. So it's HelloFresh.com/invest14. Use code invest14 for up to 14 free meals. This is America's number
US
one
only,
meal
right?
kit.
We have somebody asking in the chat if that's international or do they only do U.S.?
I think it's U.S. only, yes. Don't quote me on it, but I believe that's the case.
Do they have an FAQ? We can look that up in real time.
Yeah, it might be in their FAQ page if you just go check it out on their website. You know, the problem is like shipping food across international lines is always difficult. And sometimes like stuff will get stuck in customs. You know, you don't want that. You know, like where the country won't let you import, you know, stuff. It depends.
Yeah,
So
at that point it would become Hello Semi-Fresh.
Right. You don't want that. You want Hello Fresh right at your door.
And specifically their tagline is America's number one meal delivery service. So that might be our answer right there.
Yeah.
But did you know that people who eat at home are healthier overall? So
yeah, absolutely. What is the statistic is that because you eat more portions, larger portions when you're out, you tend to eat more, you end up, you know.
You eat more processed food, you eat more fried food.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to fry food at home. It's too much of a pain in the butt.
Right.
So, but I'm fine to eat it out. At least that's my experience. Like, no, I'm not making mozzarella sticks, but I'll order them.
That's right. Thanks to HelloFresh. Go grab your 14 free meals right now.
All right. Well, should we work a 4-day work week? Specifically, Congress has been considering a 32-hour work week. So not necessarily 4-day. I suppose you can break it up as you'd like. But the Congressional Progressive Caucus is endorsing this 4-day work week, thinking about bringing this to everybody. It's called the 32-Hour Work Week Act, and it would reduce the average working time from 40 hours to 32 hours. Now, why do we work 40 hours? Because that averages out to 5 8-hour days, right? But also working full time, that amount of time is what now our Social Security benefits are based out of, right? You have to work full time for a certain amount of years. You have to earn 4 credits a year by either working full time or paying into them as a self-employed person. So should we down this? What do you think, Clayton?
I like it. I mean, Pramaya Jayapal, who's a progressive, she said, you know, for far too long, workers across this country have been forced to put in longer hours as their wages barely budge. And I agree with her. I mean, if you think about this I think this could put the onus on companies to make some changes, to be more creative. It would improve the health and quality of life for workers. We see that in other countries that's the case. That when you actually work less, you're more efficient and the company's profits improve.
Specifically, pilots in Ireland and Canada have proven that productivity does not go down when workers work fewer days or fewer hours.
Interesting. So a 32-hour work week and it has basically 100 legislators who are already supporting this. And I think this is a great move. I mean, look, these sort of stopgap measures, I always feel like these are kind of like Band-Aid solutions sometimes. Like we're going to have an increase in minimum wage. We're going to cut down the working week from 40 to 32. I get it. But I think I think we need like a holistic overhaul to our entire system. So we slap all these different regulations on businesses, forcing them into different things. And I think it's like a hodgepodge of regulations that end up, in many ways, this will somehow end up probably hurting employees somehow.
Well, of course,
in the United States.
They're fighting for a $15 minimum wage. So let's say you get the $15 minimum wage and it's like, okay, now you got $15, but we're cutting your hours to 32 instead of 40.
Right. There has to be something there where you're still paid on the basis of 40 hours, whether you work it or not. And it does not seem like that would be the case, specifically not for hourly workers. Well, salary workers, maybe you can see how that works
and we have no health care in the United States, right? So, like, unless you have a fundamental change to the system, these sort of Band-Aid solutions to a sector of the problem, it's like putting the whole body is cut up. Like the whole body has been cut up in a knife fight, and you decide to put a Band-Aid on the toe that's bleeding. Like the whole body needs taken care of, right? From the head to the toe, from the healthcare system to the food system to the child care system to the daycare system to our. I mean, just even talking about what Elon Musk was talking about. For a family that has to spend 4 hours on the road just to get to and from work and congested traffic system, the whole thing needs to be fixed in the United States. And we're in the mid 50s or 60s on so many different lists. We're not in tops on anything.
Right.
I mean, some of these other countries kind of already they choose this on their own without even having to have legislation. Wouldn't it be great if the United States got to a point where companies decided to do what was best for its employees on their own without having the government do it?
I think it's also worth considering what is in it for the government to do this, right? We have a time when we want to encourage more consumer spending. So does giving people 3-day weekends actually do that, right? So if you're not working 5 days a week and you're working 4 days a week, you have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to get up to trouble and spend your money and go out on little trips, right? So is that a sort of a way to bolster their economy, get people out there spending rather than stuck in the office?
Yeah.
It could have that effect too. Like I'm just saying it could be not all that altruistic. There may be some way that the government will benefit from this because they're not going to tax wages less for sure. The government wouldn't say, oh, well, wages will go down and then we don't have wages to tax. So we're okay with that. That's not part of this.
I think we've seen that they only do something if it benefits them. Like, what have they done that is altruistic in the last 50 years?
Right. I can't think of anything.
I was even thinking about this from this morning as I was getting ready, and I'm like, I was thinking about the eviction moratorium, right? Like, what's in it for them? Why would they do that? Why would the government do this and disproportionately harm landlords and still tax properties? And, like, why would they do this? I don't know. There are some things that it seems like they seem like they're for us. If they're really for the people, I'm not sure. I'm not convinced that that's constitutional. But
well, like the United Arab Emirates, we covered this in the newsletter this morning, is moving to a 4.5-hour work week. So they just announced that all federal employees in the UAE will be moving to a 4.5-day work week starting in the new year. And the weekend will now kick off at noon on Fridays. They said it's going to boost productivity, improve work-life balance. I think so. I think we see this in other test pilot programs. We see this in other countries where they have a 2-hour lunch. They're done at 5 p.m. They don't get text messages and phone calls from bosses at night. Isn't it illegal now in the country of France?
And Portugal.
Like bosses are not allowed to email or text their employees after they leave the office.
Yes.
Like, imagine that in the United States. Wouldn't that be amazing? It's not gonna happen.
Except we work together, and we live together. That wouldn't work for us.
I would love that. You couldn't ask me to do something after 5 p.m. It's not going to happen.
Well, and the thing is, with the time difference, I'll be sleeping at like 3:30 in the morning, and a text will come in because I have you in my favorites, Clayton. And
there is
R2D2 is like I'm like, oh.
There is actually a provision for time differences, though.
Yeah. Can't you set it so that it's not when you're sleep mode? I'm not.
Yeah, no, I could, but I don't because I just want to make sure there's like not some major thing going on that you
That's
need.
a lot of power to be giving Clayton to wake you up at night.
Yeah, but I'm one of those that can fall right back asleep, so it never bothers me.
I'm not. So we argue because I'll go to bed on time, and then he stays up with Grover by the fire, like getting up to no good, and he comes to bed late, and I wake up. And so you know what I do to get him back, because he's woken me up at night, is when I get up on time at 6:40, I flip the light on right in his face.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, you should have gone to bed on time. Bling!
Last night I had a really horrible night's sleep. Grover woke up like 3 times in the wind. I don't know if it was windy last night or the storm, and he woke up and was howling at the moon. So that was 3 different times, all like separate by an hour and a half. So it was like enough time for me to fall back asleep and to screw me up. And then randomly in the middle of the night, Natalie elbowed me in the nose, like turned over and just went wham, wham. And I was like, what the heck? And then my 5-year-old came in at 5:30 in the morning. He's like, Daddy, remember this? We have to do this. And it was an advent calendar. I'm like, it's 5:30 in the morning. So last night I did not get any sleep. It was a bad night.
All right. Well, we're going to tell you what's trending before we get you out of here. Are you ready for that?
Yes.
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Play some Christmas music.
Okay. This is a story that I thought that you would want to talk about as the main story in the show today, but you didn't, so I'm going to bring it up. Kellogg is trending because U.S. workers voted to reject a contract from the company, extending the strike. But now Kellogg says that they have hired permanent replacement workers. Do you have the images here of the strike?
Yes.
There it is. And there's images of actual people too. I guess you don't have that. That's okay. Now they're replacing them. The union seems to have overplayed its hand and they lost. And Kellogg says, that's okay. We're replacing you. You're out.
So this is what happens. You know, these people, they want a better life for their families. They don't want to work 3 straight months without a day off. So, you know, then they go on strike, demanding better wages, better hours, and an additional like vacation day. And then Kellogg says, no, people need processed garbage cereal food in the United States. How are we going to stay the fattest country in the world without this crappy food that we produce? We're going to fire all your asses, and we're just going to replace you with some other people that we'll take advantage of.
Yes. So maybe we'll talk more about that story tomorrow. Nathan Bedford Forrest is trending because the private statue of the KKK leader. Do you have the images?
Well,
there?
you put in WebM images, so
I apologize. Okay. So there was a statue of him that was owned by a private person who died recently, and it stood beside I-65 in Nashville, and it has been taken down after 2 decades. This was a hotly debated statue. It's not just that he was a KKK leader and he was actually their first grand wizard. He did later in his life denounce the KKK, but it was sort of the way in which he was caricatured and sort of violent and like gleefully on this violent tear. He also was known for a really violent battle called the Battle of Fort Pillow, in which he massacred soldiers that had already surrendered. So
sounds like a great guy.
Yes, he's clearly a controversial person. Originally, they said they were going to just move it into, down the road, and now they're saying they're going to move it into a museum, and they did it while no one was looking because they did not want the...
Look at this. I love the color of this thing. It's painted pink with monster written all over it. Like...
I mean, it's not one of those where you can say, okay, he was a leader in this country. He was actually known as a really brilliant military strategist. So, if you want to make the argument like we shouldn't throw away our history, we should honor people for their accomplishments and then understand their faults. That's one thing. But this statue is clearly a caricature. Like, if you want to do that, we can have that debate. But it's not like, this is not the Lincoln Memorial, folks.
Well, unfortunately, that poor horse, guilty by association. That horse didn't do anything.
Totally.
Yeah, that horse was a nice guy.
Yeah, so I'm glad that is not around to remind anybody of the glorification of the KKK. And
was that statue, was its tongue out?
I think so. Yeah, if you look at it closely, it is, like I said, it's not a serious statue. It shouldn't obviously it hurts people's feelings to remember that this guy is on a rampage too. He made a lot of money in the slave trade, actually, and he was a plantation owner as well. So anyway, people are Googling to say, like, should we be upset about this guy, or should we just let his statue just go somewhere else?
Get colored more in paint and destroyed.
Yeah. So, okay. Hawaii is trending because Hawaii's governor declared a state of emergency Tuesday after flash floods and heavy rain rocked the state. This is way more rain than Hawaii is used to. They get rain all the time, but usually in sort of drizzles. And yeah,
look at
it's
that
bad.
water
Look at
pouring
that.
down the brick side. Yeah.
And finally, Del Taco is trending because Jack in the Box bought fellow fast food chain Del Taco for $575 million.
I would have thought that would have been more than that.
I also thought that was a cheap rate.
Jack in the Box got a good deal, man.
I should have. If
Yeah,
I would
look,
have
he's
known
got
that
a
was for
taco
sale
shirt.
at that price, I would not have bought my jet.
Right. You would have gone in on Del Taco.
Yeah.
I used to live across the street from a Del Taco when I lived in Los Angeles. So when I first moved there and had no money, Del Taco was my dinner on a regular basis.
Del Taco's good, man. It's not that bad.
You can get one of their Del Tacos, and it's like, I remember at the time it was so empty. It's like, did I just buy a chip with a few pieces of cheese in this thing?
It was like, they used to have those commercials where the guy was like slow cooking the beans, and he would do this.
See, I grew up on the East Coast.
Beans, right?
I grew up on the East Coast. I never saw those commercials.
Okay, well, they did. It was like kind of this mousy guy, white guy with brown hair who would do like just joke about how, because they didn't use canned beans. It's not like, they say Taco Bell's beans are powdered and they rehydrate them with water. It's gross. But Del Taco actually does have some relatively fresh ingredients for fast food. I'm gonna speak on behalf. And Jack in the Box, they have those greasy tacos. So we'll see if the two come together, because it's like the full taco is deep fried at Jack in the Box.
Yeah, I was.
What I'm talking about?
hoping that they would get better tacos. Well, I mean, I don't eat Jack in the Box anyway, but their tacos were horrible.
No, you're wrong about that. I like that
tacos?
deep fried taco.
Ugh,
Yes,
I didn't.
It's greasy, the whole thing. It's like you get, like, you eat it and you get a pimple like that. It's immediate.
What I love
I did
Jack
like
in the
it.
Box are their hash browns, their morning hash browns.
Oh, I don't know anything about
I think
that.
I've eaten at Jack in the Box one time.
Because it's more of a West Coast chain, I think.
When I moved to LA, I had it one time. I think it was like I had one of their burgers. It was pretty good.
All right. I mean, I don't eat there. I don't have the option to eat there anymore, but I did like them. So.
People are saying in the chat here, or in like Pinterest, like, have you ever wondered why Del Taco's beans taste so good?
It's slow cooking the beans, guys. See, I don't know if we can look up that commercial and play it.
I was trying to, and I couldn't find it. It didn't show it.
Anybody in the chat remember it? I know. I'm like, but that's all I eat anyway. Is just black beans with like a little avocado, and that I eat that every day.
Yeah. All right. Is that all that's trending?
Yes.
I was asking you.
Oh, I thought we were asking you. Oh, that's my job.
Yeah. I have some trending news.
You do?
Somebody ask Grover? Grover, is there any more trending news today?
I am
can't
51
find
years
this.
old today.
You're what?
Are you really?
Yes.
Today's your birthday?
Today is my birthday.
Are you a Capricorn?
Oh my gosh.
No, I'm a
No,
Sagittarius.
he's a Sagittarius.
And let me tell you, this is also some bad news. This is also the day that John Lennon died. So John Lennon died on my birthday.
Oh. Wait,
And,
in the same year?
No.
No.
No,
I was
you were
10.
Okay.
But he died in 1980. But I was
Yeah.
still a huge Beatles fan because I grew up listening to it. And when I was, my dad played Beatles songs and all that on the guitar. So I've been a Beatles fan since I was a wee tot.
Yes. Beatles forever. Yeah, that's something David and I share. So happy birthday, my friend.
Oh my gosh, I wish you
What are you
had told
doing?
us
Are you doing
earlier.
anything special?
I did. I'm going to probably get tacos from Costa Vida today, but that's about it. It's just another day. After you reach a certain age, it's like, eh.
Yeah, just another day.
Aw,
Yeah.
you want to sing to him? We could do the Portuguese version.
No, we do not want to do
Okay.
that. Neither does he. Does not want to hear that.
All right, fine.
you,
Well,
everybody,
everybody
for the
in the
birthday
chat,
wishes.
please wish David a happy birthday. That's fantastic. I hope it's wonderful.
Don't forget, we also
Get a
have
venti, dude.
we have a free boot camp, a financial freedom boot camp. If you go to morninginvest.com/bootcamp, it's totally free. There it is. It'll take you through step by step, week by week, on how to build financial freedom, empowering yourself outside of this corrupt government banking system. Again, totally free. Follow it week by week by week. Just go to morninginvest.com/bootcamp to grab it. Many of you grabbed it yesterday. We hope you found it very useful. And we have action steps and exercises, as it says, to help you create a customized plan to manage your family's finances and get you on the right path to either starting a business, investing, etc. It's really, really powerful. So check it out. We want you to be empowered here, not just to complain about what this government does to us, but build something for your family's future. And that's one way to do it. morninginvest.com/bootcamp. All right. So thanks, everyone.
The guy's name was Dan. Dan from Del Taco.
Dan from Del Taco.
He was like Jared from Subway. So I had to look it up.
Maybe don't
I
draw
wouldn't
that
make that
parallel
comparison.
until we know his past.
Right. But he was kind of like, yeah.
No, I know
Maybe
what
he
you mean.
still is. I don't know.
Like the time to make the donuts guy.
It was, you see, that's another thing that I had no idea until someone said something recently, because I was raised on the West Coast. How do you know? Oh, because you were raised in Indiana. So we didn't have that. I had no idea what the time to make the donuts was.
Oh, wow. Dunkin' Donuts?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. She didn't know.
It wasn't in California until recently, and even now there's not that many. So I never saw those time to make the donuts commercials.
It's the guy.
This is Dan, slow cooking the beans. I'm telling you. I slow cook my beans every week too, because I refuse to use canned products because of bisphenol. So I put beans in a crock pot.
Yes, she does.
That's why I eat them all the time, because I have a big crock pot of beans once a week.
Cooking the beans. All right. All right, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We'll be back here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Eastern Time for another episode of Morning Invest. Until then, be safe, be smart.
And happy birthday.
Yes, happy birthday, young man.
Thank you.
Peace out.